exchange, right? And there's money that comes in. Where does it go? You should then be able to see where all of these things go. Education, perhaps the odd road here and there. The infrastructure fund, we're already being told that, it's going to set up mega infrastructure in the country. We're told that this is where all of these things are going, Fanya Mambo.
But we have seen it's in people's houses. That was just a tip of the iceberg. That's a very small guy in the grand scheme of things. So you can imagine what the other guys have. These are guys who have containers of money. That was just a small player in the game of those who have money. We have better players in the game. And you can imagine there are people with containers of money in this country. This thing of saying that we are not able to pay debt, no. I keep saying, and this is where I completely disagree with those people who say we are not going to pay debt. I keep reminding Kenyans that 65% of our debt is borrowed locally and internally. And what I mean by locally, when you go and buy a treasury bond, when you go and buy this kind of, the government things, you go and buy a T-bill, what you are doing is you are lending to government. So when you hear irresponsible leaders saying, we are not going to pay debt, we shall never pay debt, I usually submit as Fanya Mambo Kinuthia. I will not let a Kenyan who has worked so hard and invested in treasury bills go unpaid. What we need is a rational conversation about debt. And to start saying he worked for 50 years, he came and invested 1 million shillings or 2 million shillings in T-bills. And then there's someone who is coming to say, we don't owe, we are not going to pay. I think Kenya owes. And Kenya needs to pay. But we shall pay the right people. And we shall start with our local people. The people who we owe locally. We owe some of our banks. Some of them are thieves, we know. But some of our banks have also lent genuinely. So there's a lot of interest in our debt that people don't want to talk about. More than 60% of our debt is locally borrowed. And we have to be responsible when we speak about not paying debt. Because what you are doing is you're discouraging somebody who wanted to invest in government tomorrow. I keep telling people the least indebted nation in the world is Somalia. The other least indebted country in the world is Zimbabwe. Countries like Japan are indebted to the tune of 241% of their GDP. The US is indebted to the tune of 120% of their GDP. The UK more than 100%. Germany about 95% of their GDP. We are indebted to the tune of 68% of our GDP. And by the way, the richest company in the world is Volkswagen. They are the most indebted company in the world, followed by Toyota. They are the second most indebted company in the world. The poorest companies in this world, ni tuingine tumeregister hapa business services. They owe nobody, but they also have nothing. So let's not present debt as a very bad thing. It's a conversation that people never want to have. Do you want to be like Somalia that nobody can lend to? Or do you want to be like Zimbabwe that is not indebted? Maybe they're indebted to the tune of 4%. I would rather be like Japan that is indebted to the tune of 241% of their GDP.
But then there is a requisite.
But what they do, theirs is 241%. Those guys who are telling you debt is bad, like the US, are indebted to the tune of 121% of their GDP.
But you can see what they do with it. Is this
That's
the reason?
Exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
That we shall have a responsible conversation about debt. This populist conversation that people want to throw us and say we are not going to pay, we won't pay, debt is bad. Who told you debt is bad? That is good if it goes to the right use. That is good if it is handled by people who mean well. That is not an entirely bad thing. But also, let us not kill the investor confidence in this country. If we come and tell Kenyans we are not going to pay debt, they will never buy treasury bills. They'll never buy treasury bonds. They'll never invest in government. I am a person who is looking at becoming a member of parliament in an opposition that is going to form government. And we don't want to have a government that can't have funds to run, or a government that even Kenyans don't have confidence in. So we have to build that confidence and tell you, for the genuine debt that we owe, we will pay. For the debt that it was acquired illegally, did not hit this country, was not used for this country, we will not pay.
Fanya Mambo, these are conversations that each and every single Kenyan must have. Whether you're talking about wastage that we see both in national and county governments, whether we talk about the education crisis that we find ourselves in today, we talk about the health situation, Ebola, and also just our overall healthcare system in the country. These are conversations that each and every single Kenyan must be invested in. Do you reckon that Kenyans are having these conversations? Because we will have this conversation in the studio, but kwa ground, are Kenyans speaking?
The country that is losing 30,000 Kenyans to malaria every year the country that is losing 10,000 Kenyans to pneumonia every year, the country that is losing 25,000 Kenyans to cancer every year, the country that is losing these thousands of people to things like dysentery, diarrhea, amoeba, is the country that has invited Ebola upon itself. You know, 30,000 of you, kakitu kanaitwa mosquito, you can't manage. It's killing 30,000 of you. Now you brought yourselves Ebola. You know, pneumonia too. Hii pneumonia tu inaletwa sijui na nini. It's a bacteria, but we tend to believe it's cold. We can't manage that. And we are here inviting Ebola upon ourselves. I think the conversations in health are supposed to be in that direction. That if you go to any level 4 hospital today, and you don't find a ward where people are sharing a bed, just come for 10,000 shillings. It's that simple.